Hello, I'm Yari. Welcome. I'm happy that you are here. I'll be continuing talking about Finnish Nightmares. It's the Finnish series, illustrated series or cartoon or comic, and it's about these situations which are considered typical for Finns in relation to their how they see certain social situations. But actually, one thing I would like to add on this one, which has to do maybe with more than situations in Finland, has to do maybe with interactions abroad that Finns have. And I would say there's a classic one which is used, a classic opener in English. I reckon it's the place where it's mostly more than in other places used. I assume in the U.S. But it's the classic "How are you?" And if there's American saying or question opener which is baffling to a Finn, I guess nothing compares to this one. because because as a Finns we have tendency to that's how I put it into words. Someone else might have put it in the words other way, and his view might vary. But this is how I see it, how I take it. That we have a tendency, we love, instead of wanting to have by default like many, like less 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 teeth relationships. We prefer, I would like to suggest, like smaller amount of deep relationships to friends, to people we know, and so on. So this question maybe has to do with this dynamic, that how are you, when untrained Finn goes among, for example, the Americans on, or travels abroad to places where you hear lots of these questions. I think I'm not the only Finn who will have a tendency with this question. Now I'm speaking outside of these slides, because this is not directly from them, but I would like just to mention that this question, because we are used to, oftentimes we are, there's like people are not so used to just babble, and just to, of course there's variation between people, but we think that when someone asks something, he has, there's a purpose. It's we kind of assume it's not for chit chat, and also this question, that's why this question, how are you? Because it can lead to situations that we have certain tendency to tell a very long story, like what we've been doing like the last year, highlighting like multiple events or something. uh, you could almost say, only to realize that sometimes when we are asked this question, especially when the question is asked as implied, for example in English, we kinda we kinda sometimes fail to realize that actually the person who's asking, he's not maybe not at all like asking like 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 in this sense. And but as Finns we have tendency in certain scenarios we do have the tendency that we would like to let it out and just like move straight to the phase of deep conversation. Um, yeah, that's what what can take place. Yeah, that's a side note I wanted to say, inspired by the last episode. So I will proceed now with the Finnish Nightmares, and namely the nightmare number 13. When an acquaintance stands too close when talking to you. Hey Matti, long time no see, how are you? I'm fine. And then they casually touch you. That's so nice to hear, Matti. Well, I would just say, yeah, it's the fact of the matter that it's not part of our culture as it's in some southern nations. Maybe, yeah, let's put it that way. Uh, like the touching, yeah, in our gestures, in our way of interacting people. In average, there's probably less this something like the putting touching someone. Well, handshake is one thing. In certain instances, hugging, but in general, it's probably low, less than in southern nations, which is of course only logical. Yeah, because yeah, because we are the on European map we are the distant nation, and we have the sea next to us. So from countries like Sweden, Norway, Denmark, north of Germany through Denmark and so on, it wasn't so easy to come to visit. At least you needed boats, you needed ships, you needed some things even, and specifically thinking the time before planes and things like that. So yeah, that's the way. That's in our nature. Yeah. It's not like a France. It's not like Italy, and yeah, we are something else. But it's fine. And as said, of course, there's differences between individuals. So it's not only about like being a Finn and having like fixed set of but there's variations. I guess that's true everywhere. Number 14. Dinner is served. Come on, grab a plate and enjoy. You're really hungry, but nobody wants to be the first to take the food. Well, that's really relatable. This is definitely so. And because where I have grown, the culture, the surrounding, the practices, the customs there, in my head, it's also a little bit. This is like the natural way of doing it to me. What my nature says that what's the right thing to do. It has to go that way. Although I will have to say that maybe I have taken some extra painting on my understanding or view on this topic, that I do realize that in this kind of settings, if it's really like that, those people who have, for example, invited guests, they really want to serve, they have done the catering, the food, whatever, and they wish, I wish they would already come. So maybe, although I do realize this tendency, I have added to my image of this topic a little bit extra color, that I do realize that it might be even though I find this polite that you don't just rush there. That's the it's absolutely to me like the more polite way by default. There might be exceptions, but still on the other hand, I do realize that that even though this is like a starting point, but there might be also some virtue in the fact that you will actually go there, even though you have this contra tendency that you don't want to go, but because of these people have been putting maybe lots of effort to making this table, so so in this sense, maybe the absolute rigidity is not always the best, but yeah. Okay, so let's proceed to the, I think, is this the last one? Okay, some invades your personal space while you're waiting for bus. That's relatable. That's totally relatable. Yeah, I signed to this one. I recognize this principle. Yeah, it's like that. There's also the memes online about Finns on the bus stop. You know, it looks like to me it seems like even though we don't have any epidemic, you know, it's like people still are lined up so as they wear one because it's our, we like to keep the space. So okay, I've read your job application, but I like to tell you a bit more about yourself. What are you good at? Yeah, well, there's something into this that certainly is Finnish, that that we don't like to. In many situations, it's not that black and white, but I would say maybe it's the default tendency that we don't like to boast or boost ourselves in the eyes of other people, and it's also seen virtuous by others when people, when we don't when people see that someone is not trying to lift himself up, you know. Yeah, but as I say, there's many sides and many factors, and so it's, but as a, but it certainly is a general principle, and I do find in this general principle that it's not a bad general principle. I yeah, maybe I'm a true Finn also in this sense, but yeah, I can relate to that, and I don't see it as a wicked principle at all. Yeah. Hey, that was about the Finnish Nightmares. I hope you have enjoyed the view on these Finnish situations, and I'll be glad if you like and subscribe to this video, to this channel. Thank you for your time. Ciao.